Sydney. Did you miss me? It's showtime.
Hello everyone, the December Review here, back again with a movie review. Today, we have the return of the Ghostface with the most face. Yes, Scream 7 is here, and brings with it the return of Neve Campbell, aka Sidney Prescott, now Sidney Prescott Evans, who is back in the lead role once again. Spoilers are ahead, so make sure to check out the film now playing in theaters.
What's your favorite scary movie?
After moving on from the town of Woodsboro, Sidney has relocated to Pine Grove, Indiana, with her husband, Chief of Police Mark Evans, played by Joe McHale, and daughter Tatum, played by Isabel May. Running a coffee house in this idyllic town, Sidney's main issue is the constant conflict she is having with Tatum. She is much more focused on forgetting her Woodsboro past and moving forward than reliving the events through Tatum's questions and celebrity status. But all that changes once the phone rings. Ghostface is back, and he's looking to not just take out Sidney, but maybe Tatum as well. And it just may be one Stu Macher who is seemingly back from the dead on the other line.
Scary night, isn't it?
The road to Scream 7 was a drama-filled one, loaded with director changes, script rewrites, and a major cast shakeup that left the whole production in question for a while. Looking to bring the series back with a new updated legacy/reboot trilogy, Scream 5, which debuted in 2022, had a new cast with franchise stars mixed in to bridge the series. Melissa Barrera and Jenny Ortega were now the featured lead roles playing the Carpenter sisters, with Ghostface chasing them and their friends down. Scream 6 continued the storyline, but marked the first film in the series to not have Neve Campbell, who didn't agree to be in the film after a contract dispute. Looking to finish the trilogy, things got off to a bad start as lead actress Barrera was let go from the production, which prompted Ortega to bow out as well, and two changes to the director's chair left the whole thing up in the air. We'll enter the return of Sidney Prescott alongside series creator and writer Kevin Williamson, now set to direct, and Scream 7 is here.
I'm not interrupting anything, am I?
So with all that behind-the-scenes drama unfolding, what does that mean for the actual film? It's a Kevin Williamson directed Scream film starring Neve Campbell. Of course, it's going to be good.
Oh, that's so cool. It's a motion detector.
And I'd say it was pretty great overall. It's not perfect, but we're talking about the 7th film in a franchise. In terms of how horror series go, Scream 7 is a fun mystery slasher filled with all the Ghostface shenanigans you would expect, plus a few twists to keep it all rolling along. This is the return of Sidney Prescott through and through. When the series started back up with Part 5, Sidney was present, but I feel you could have removed both her and Gale Weathers, tweaked a bit of the story, and the end result would have been the same. Part 6 completely removing the character for the first time. In the new one, she is front and center, continuing the narrative of the first 4 films. A big plot point here is her relationship with her daughter Tatum. There is a constant conflict between them, with Sidney taking an overprotective stance on most decisions, which is understandable considering her history. But she also refuses to delve into her past, instead choosing to lock it all down inside and not talk about it much. And all this, of course, is too much for Tatum, who gets angry over the strict rules and upset when her questions about her mother's history go unanswered. But soon enough, there will be a Ghostface or 2 or 3 that will eventually help bridge that gap in their relationship. And there are a few returning characters. Gale Weathers is, of course, back and as headstrong as ever. She gets one heck of an entrance during the film's first real swerve, as she shows up in the town, ready to go live literally at the perfect second. Like part 5, she gets a bit relegated to sidekick at first, but there are a few scenes where her character really gets to shine. The first being a conversation with Sydney where Dewey Riley is brought up, and the second is an interview she gives that pushes Sydney to her breaking point. That one in particular is an excellent moment. The core 4 from the previous 2 films are now just down to 2, with the departure of Barrera and Ortega. Chad and Mindy are here, although a bit shoehorned into the script. Mindy is apparently ready to take the lead reporter title away from Gail, and Chad is there to be her cameraman. It's a random direction to take, but it does get them into the story, all things considered. I'm a big fan of continuality within films, so having them there is helpful, even if a bit unneeded. The rest of the cast mostly consists of Tatum's friends, aka the ones who Ghostface will take out. And takeout is certainly what Ghostface does. It's funny, I was reading an interview with one of the cast members who said that the previous films, they went a bit crazy with the gore, and that Part 7 wanted to bring things back to more tension-filled scares. Not exactly sure what that was all about, because Scream 7 might be the goriest film in the entire series. There's one scene where one character, after getting sliced up, literally becomes a beer tap. I had to look away for a second as the situation set itself up. It would have made Rob Zombie say, "That's too much." Okay, probably not, but it's pretty over the top, and it's not an isolated moment. Whenever Ghostface gets someone, it's either really messy or at least forcefully brutal. We can call this the Terrifier effect. I guess they want to compete with Art the Clown. The movie really wants you to think that a former Ghostface, Stu from Part 1, is still alive and the one doing all of the damage. Ghostface has upgraded from just phone calls to FaceTime, and it sure seems like Stu is alive and well and back to finish his original plan. And there's a whole subplot about his whereabouts after the first film. Him ending up in a hospital, a visit to said location, and a confirmation that he was in fact there. I warned of spoilers at the top of the video, and I'm about to get into some now, so tread lightly if so inclined. Yeah, it's not Stu. I won't say exactly who and why this time around, but it's not him. AI has entered the Scream chat. Stu was used to sting Sydney and help bridge Tatum into taking Sydney's place as the next final girl. At least that's what Ghostface was trying to accomplish. And it wasn't always going to be this way. Kevin Williamson has said since the film was released that Stu was written originally to be quite alive, and in fact, an ending was filmed with him fully real. However, this apparently didn't go over well with test audiences, so the whole thing was removed. And I think that was a mistake. For most audiences with any mystery killer film, the ending reveal can make or break it. Sometimes it won't matter how perfect 90% of a movie is. If the big ending is deemed unworthy, then someone's outlook on the entire film can change. Scream 7's big reveal isn't exactly newsworthy. In fact, it's a bit whatever in terms of the narrative. It makes enough sense from the killer's perspective, I suppose, but this film is trying to set up the wow factor with Stu. Anything less would have been a letdown. What was chosen was a bit less than that. There's also a slight pacing issue here for me. This thing takes off rather quickly after its trademarked and rather excellent introduction scene, as it hits the gas pedal early on and doesn't really let up once Ghostface arrives. That's fine, and I thought it worked well, but there were some edits I imagine that felt a bit too abrupt. Case in point, there's a big scene at a restaurant, that human beer tap moment, where it's non-stop carnage for multiple people. Tatum had already left the restaurant and went out looking for Sydney. This restaurant destruction goes on for quite a bit, and immediately afterwards Ghostface is right behind Tatum and the tension continues. If this was a single mass slasher like, say, Michael Myers, it would be an impossible leap of time. I know there's always more than one Ghostface, but the instant continuation of the moment threw me out of the scene for a second. Even in Screamland, it seemed almost impossible. But technically it's not, and it was impacted by another slight swerve where we have 3 Ghostfaces here. One had already been taken care of earlier on, so at this point expectations are that there's just one left. And that's not the case. This is Multiplicity Ghostface. Also, it must be said that there's just no way that Sydney's husband Mark, who survives this film, can survive this film. He gets roughed up pretty well and ends up serving a rather important role in the finale. Fine, it's a horror film, but it just doesn't make sense in reality. If not bringing Stu back officially was done because it all seemed too improbable, not sure how this wasn't, but I digress. And I must say, there's a line of dialogue spoken here at the film's climax that had the audience I saw it with laughing out loud. But it wasn't intended to be funny. Ouch.
The question isn't, who am I? The question is, where am I?
Alright, so even with a few issues, overall I thought Scream 7 was an excellent and noteworthy entry in the series. Having Sydney back front and center brings the movie closer to its original trilogy vibes. Sydney is as strong and confident as ever, and with her family now in the mix, her story arc continues to deepen while driving the stakes up even higher. This one isn't as meta as some of the others. For a series built off of the rules of horror films, this one reminded me a bit more of Part 2 in terms of being a slightly more straightforward slasher. There's enough twists and turns and red flags that are series staples. You might be able to guess the killer, but I didn't. It was a bit out of left field, but I enjoyed the movie throughout, so I can give it a pass on its reveal. It's Neve Campbell, it's Kevin Williamson, it's Ghostface, and in my book, it's a very good, if not great, chapter in the franchise. One that has now crossed over $1 billion in total box office. Scream 8 has seemingly already started ramping up for a quick turnaround. If it can match this series' momentum, Scream can hold strong as the current king of the slasher landscape. I give Scream 7 4 out of 5 on the slasher scale. And if you like the first 3 films in this series, this one will certainly be a must-watch.
Down to the end.
If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.